WWE TLC pay-per-view has ended, and here's my pay-per-view review. The night started off with two pre-show matches. First, for the Cruiserweight Championship, we had Buddy Murphy versus Cedric Alexander. This was a good Cruiserweight match with lots of back and forth action. Buddy winds up retaining with the Murphy's Law. Now we get the guitar on top of the ladder match with Elias and Bobby Lashley. Of course, Lio Rush gets involved and then escapes. Then at one point, Lio tries to rush up the ladder and Elias knocks him off. Elias then grabs the guitar for the win. Lashley and Rush then attack Elias 2-on-1 and nail Elias in the back with the guitar. This match was a decent match, but nothing really special. The pay-per-view starts up with the Fabulous Truth versus Mahalisha. Typical match at first, then the dance break is joined in by the Sings. Fabulous Truth winds up getting the win and announced they are going to WWE headquarters instead of for Connecticut. I don't think either team would make much of a difference in the number 30 spot. However, I like Truth and Carmella winning. At least they provide comedy to the show, unlike Mahalisha. Next up is the SmackDown Tag Championship match with the Bar, the Usos, and the New Day. Pretty good fast-paced match with lots of action. The Bar retains with a bro kick to Xavier Woods. The New Day was represented by Woods and Kofi with Big E on the outside. Heath Slater's out next to referee the next match. Baron Corbin comes out thinking he will win by forfeit. However, as Heath Slater begins counting, Braun's music hits at the 7 count. Braun comes out with his arm in a sling and says if someone wants to help him, it's a no disqualification match. Apollo Crews, Bobby Roode, Chad Gable, and Finn Balor all come in with chairs and surround the ring. Heath Slater then removes his referee shirt and nails Corbin, and everyone takes turns hitting him with chair shots. As Corbin begins to head to the back, Kurt Angle comes out and grabs a chair, and everyone destroys Corbin. Then Braun comes in and gets the win. There was a point on the pre-show earlier that in the night where Corbin was coaching JoJo on how to announce him after the match. JoJo winds up announcing him as the loser who is no longer the GM of Raw, which I thought was a great touch. This wouldn't be considered a match, but it was still a great segment. Next up, we got Ruby Riott and the Riott Squad versus Natalya in a tables match. The match started off 3-on-1 early in the match until Liv Morgan went through a table. The match then became 2-on-1 for a while, and then Sarah Logan also went through a table. At one point, Ruby was in the sharpshooter and had the table with the anvil set up in the corner, and she wound up grabbing the table and made it fall and hit Natalya. Natty later brings out a Ruby Riott table from under the ring and puts on the anvil's jacket, and then she power bombs Ruby Riott from the top rope through the table. It was a good match and a good way to end the feud, with Natty putting on the anvil sunglasses and getting her retribution. Next, we had Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Drew threw Finn around for a little bit before Finn came back with a kick to the chest. Dolph came out and interfered in the match, which was predictable because early on Drew said Dolph's names when screaming into Finn Balor's face. Balor connected with a coup de grace and a win after kicking a chair into Drew McIntyre's stomach. Next up, we had Rey Mysterio versus Orton in a chairs match. And Rey wins with a roll-up off of a set of chairs. This was a decent match, just seemed a little filler to me. I really wasn't invested into it. It seems like your typical Orton Mysterio match with some chairs involved. Next we have Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax for the Raw Women's Championship. Shout out to the fan that was holding the Go Home Ronda sign. It was the most visible sign in the audience and it caught my attention the entire match. Ronda started off using her quickness while Nia used power. Ronda lands some combos, sunset flip, and it actually power bombs Nia. Tamina winds up distracting Ronda to no avail, and she winds up making Nia tap to the armbar. This was a good speed versus power match. And later in the back, Nia ran into Becky, and Becky laid her out. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan was a good slow-paced match with lots of wear-down moves. Bryan started the match stalling, and it seemed to take too long overall. And we got our first This Is Awesome chant of the night during this match, but only lasted a short time. Bryan winds up reversing an already reversed roll-up to retain in a very good technical match. Next up, we got Ronda Rousey and Natalya in the backstage area. And Ronda's asked what's coming next, and she says, "Payback's a bitch." Next is Brother vs. Brother with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, with the bonus Renee Young and Corey Graves on commentary. Another good match similar to the last match. I enjoyed this a little more than Bryan and Styles, honestly. However, the crowd chants, "This is boring." I believe that the pace of the match being similar to the last match just caught the crowd off guard, and this was missing that brawl aspect that everyone seemed to expect. Seth seemed to have knee issues throughout the match, and there was a Dirty Deeds and then a new Intercontinental Champion. And then in the main event for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka in a TLC match. Asuka's out first, followed by Charlotte, and the crowd goes wild for Becky. The three go back and forth. Becky is dropped on the table by Asuka. Charlotte gets powerbombed through the table by Asuka, followed by everyone getting chair shots. Becky jumps from the ladder through Charlotte on the announcer table, and this gains a "This is awesome" chant. Becky and Asuka battle up the ladder for the title, and then Charlotte comes in with a kendo stick. Asuka winds up taking a turn with the kendo stick, and then she gets speared through the barricade. Becky and Charlotte then face off and both go through a table. Asuka and Charlotte battle for the title, and Becky comes in with another ladder and sets it up right beside it. Asuka winds up going down, and Becky and Charlotte battle for the title on the new ladder that Becky had just brought in. Then Ronda Rousey comes out and knocks the ladder with Charlotte and Becky over, and this allows Asuka to climb up the ladder and become the new SmackDown Women's Champion. It was an amazing match, and definitely was the match of the night. Overall, it was a pretty good pay-per-view. I find that with WWE pay-per-views, it's best not to overhype it because they're usually disappointing, but this was actually an enjoyable show.